All right, so what are we talking about? Ooh, this deck is hot because it consistently burns my opponents. And this deck is not the most interesting deck, but I must say it doesn't change much. Um, this deck goes all the way back. Some years ago, I was playing a red deck, um, and it was old school burn with the Vexing Devil. I have a video on here of like the last remnants of that older burn deck. And if you go back, I'm sure it's on here somewhere. In the modern deck tech videos, it should be. However, I'd say burn is like an unchanging thing in the metagame. It doesn't even use Ragavan. It doesn't change. It changes a little bit, but twists and turns, and it's always relevant, it seems like. And it's not exactly like my favorite playstyle, but if I feel like I'm getting bullied or I'm in a situation where I want to just like win and win consistently, I'd say this is the deck that I use. So we'll get right into it by showing the creature base here. So we of course have 4 Goblin Guides. That's a hasty 1-drop. Whenever Goblin Guide attacks, defending player reveals the top card of their library. If it's a land card, that player puts it into their hand. But it's a haste 2/2. So Goblin Guide is essential in the deck. We have Monastery Swiftspear, as I call her, Amona the Swift, because she's fast on her feet. She has haste. She has prowess, and prowess whenever you cast a non-creature spell. And we're going to cast a plenty, brothers, sisters, and siblings. This spell gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So that's good for us. We're running 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the creature base. Lucky 8, man. That's it. A goblin and a lady. A goblin and a lady. All right, we got lightning bolt, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4. And look at that. This version of lightning bolt recently spiked. I had a bunch of these. Now I have like 8 of them, I think. But these recently spiked. Yeah, they're a nice foil. Nice old frame foil like that. I like that. Very cool. That's probably my favorite. I love that marbled red like that. I like it a lot. So we're running 4 lightning bolts, of course. Now Skullcrack is our first 2-drop. So for 1 and a red, players can't gain life this turn. That's good. We don't want them doing that. Damage can't be prevented this turn. That's good too. Skullcrack deals 3 damage to target player. So let's talk about damage can't be prevented this turn really quick. Why is Skullcrack cool? And why would it be in here? Well, there's a lot of reasons. But mainly, if you have protection from everything with the 1 ring, somebody prove me if I'm wrong, but damage can't be prevented, like with Questing Beast, right? So, I think you're going to see these damage can't be prevented cards showing up while the 1 ring's around. And with Skullcrack, I've always ran Skullcrack in my burn decks, but I'm running 3 Skullcrack. 1, 2, 3 Skullcracks. We have Searing Blaze. This is honestly one of my favorite cards in Magic. There's just something about that. I love landfall stuff, even though I don't play it a lot anymore. I do like landfall. A guy I used to play Magic with had a landfall commander deck. It was like blue and green, and it was really awesome. I loved that deck. I thought that was really creative. And it was just when he was getting into Magic, too. So kudos to him on that cool deck. Yeah, what was it? Something, but there was Scoot Swarms involved. Searing Blaze deals 1 damage to target player and 1 damage to target creature that player controls. But if a land entered the battlefield under your control this turn, Searing Blaze deals 3 damage to that player and 3 damage to that creature instead. Just great. 1, 2, 3, 4 Searing Blazes. And in addition to Searing Blaze, we're running this Searing Blood here. This is a card that interests me a lot. Deals 2 damage to target creature. When that creature dies this turn, Searing Blood deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. So this is some removal and it's some damage to the opponent. So this is wonderful in the deck. And I love it because you can get rid of Ragavan. You can knock out an Elemental. Grief. Grief will suffer. Grief will be grieved by this. Anything with that 2 that 2 toughness is gonna be pooped right off the board, just like that, Tony. And of course, dealing that 3 damage is not too shabby either. So we're running 1, 2 of those in the main deck. We have Lightning Helix. Love this card because it's going to gain us life no matter what. Lightning Helix deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life. So that's wonderful. Unless we're playing a deck like ours where we can't gain life this turn. So in that case, Lightning Helix isn't going to have us gain life, but 9 out of 10 times, actually probably 90 out of 100 times, Lightning Helix is totally going to be able to gain us that 3 life. And we're running 3 of those in the main deck. We have Boros Charm. We have a nice full art one. Choose one. Boros Charm deals 4 damage to target player or planeswalker. Permanents you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn. So Boros Charm's great to do that 4 damage. That's why it's in the deck. That's why I believe Boros Charm is the reason that Burn kind of is Boros. And not just like mono red or something. Really, really, I think the Boros Charm and Lightning Helix, just some things I think like as we'll get through the deck, we'll see why I went from playing mono red Burn for years and years to playing Boros. And this is one of those reasons. And nowadays, too, that permanents you control gain indestructible until end of turn is really great. Because if somebody plays, Fury, this can come in handy. Especially when we're having a little board state over here. We're going to have some Monastery Swift Spears, maybe a Goblin. So, we're running 4 of the Boros Charms. And that double strike, that's not horrible. The double strike is not horrible on this either. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn, not the worst. But most of the time, we just want to do that 4 damage to target player or planeswalker. And there's just wonderful right there. We got Lava Spike. This is probably like the only deck where you'll ever see Lava Spike besides like a Prowess aggro deck maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4 Lava Spikes. And Lava Spikes like holds like a price of like $2 forever. Lava Spike deals 3 damage to target player. And very basic, very simple. That's what we want to do, is just deal that damage. And I just realized something. That's like a Kamigawa, right? It's like, I swore I had a play. That's weird. Okay, the Pinkerton's been in here, man. This isn't right. I had a play set of these, I'm sure of it. What's the date on that? Okay, that's 2012. That's correct. 2004. Oh my God. I swear I had a play set of these now. Come on now. I just don't understand it. And now, let's get into here. We're getting into our, it's a 3-drop, but essentially it's a 1-drop. Has that spectacle cost. Skewer the Critics. So for 2 and a red, when's that going to happen? Skewer the Critics deals 3 damage to any target. And that spectacle cost, that's how we're going to be playing this. So this is wonderful to just bang, like play a lightning bolt, play this, play another one of these on turn 3. You got 9 damage. And you've probably already done 5 damage by that time. So Skewer the Critics, of course, we're running 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. Rift Bolt is a pretty cool card, if I say so myself. 2 and a red. Rift Bolt deals 3 damage to any target. It's got that suspend cost of 1 red. So Rift Bolt, rather than cast this card from your hand, you may pay 1 red and exile it with a time counter in it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter. When the last is removed, cast it without paying its mana cost. So paying this for its suspend cost, if we suspend a few of these, it's going to put pressure on our opponents to try to do something. So they're going to have to counter it in some way, or they're going to take that damage. But we're running 3 of these. Just because 4 is not feeling good to me, and it never did, because with Rift Bolt, we're not dealing direct damage like right away. So it's like a turn must go around. So something, that deals direct damage, I don't want to get flooded with Rift Bolts. However, I don't want to not get Rift Bolts as well. We have Roiling Vortex, which is just the player in this deck. And this is why I think this is way better than a card like Eidolon of the Revel. Roiling Vortex. What does it do? At the beginning of each player's upkeep, Roiling Vortex deals 1 damage to them. Whenever a player casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast that spell, Roiling Vortex deals 5 damage to that player. Or, pay a red, your opponents can't gain life this turn. That is really good. If this is on there, we can pay that red to keep some wicked life gain. Like if somebody plays something and then bumps it, it has life gain. Anything with lifelink, you know, 3 life gained is pretty bad when you're playing against a burn deck. Like we do not want our opponents gaining life, so that's just fine. But this is totally shutting down baubles, free spells, cheat spells. Nobody wants to take 5 damage from this. But at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that 1 damage, that's great as well. So we're running 1, 2, 3 of those in the main deck. Now let's get into these lands. We have Arid Mesa, of course. We have the fetches. 1, a 2. Isn't that nice? Oh, I love that. These cards have no curve to them. These were some of the best foiled cards Wizards ever produced. I just can't say enough about those. And that one is one of my favorites. 1, 2, 3, 4 Arid Mesas. And those fetches are going to seek out things like the Sacred Foundry. This has a real Dark Souls feel to me. I love this. In fact, that has a real Dark Souls too. I love these. I definitely love these Boros lands. I think the artwork, even though it's like just two-toned in a lot of them, I love the artwork in these, but I digress. 2 Sacred Foundries for our pain lands. We have Sunbaked Canyon. Pay 1 life, add a red or a white. We can pay 1 and tap, sacrifice Sunbaked Canyon, draw a card. So that's wonderful card draw for us if we just need something. We have Inspiring Vantage, enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. So tap, add red or white to the mana pool. We're running 2 of those. We have Furycom Snarl here. This, I really love this in the deck because in the past when I ran some Wooded Foothills in my burn, I had a real tight mana base and I was trying to exploit Dragon's Rage Channeler. So I had a lot of fetches. I was dying to Eidolon of the Revel on my own. Like, it became like a thing that wasn't good. So this being like it is, we're not playing Dragon's Rage Channeler in our burn deck. Sometimes I miss the DRC in here for certain reasons, but I don't miss it enough to where I want to add like fetch lands, just because like letting yourself stick around so you're not constantly like pinging yourself with fetch lands. We're running 2 Furycom Snarls, and as a refresher, as Furycom Snarl enters the battlefield, you can reveal a mountain or plains card from your hand. If you don't, Furycom enters the battlefield tapped. So this is fine for us. This very rarely ever enters tapped, to be honest. I have this Battlefield Forge in here. I've had this a long time, and I love the foiling of it. And this is weird, I know, in like a modern deck that I say is like one of my favorite stompers that I bring out when I feel like I'm being bullied and I really want to win. Now, Battlefield Forge is add 1 mana to your mana pool. Tap it, add a red or a white to the mana pool. Battlefield Forge deals 1 damage to you. So I know this goes against what I said about, you know, using a bunch of fetches and getting a real tight mana base like other decks I run. But I like this card. I just said I love Boros. This card's special to me in the deck, and it doesn't hurt me because I have Gemstone Mine enters the battlefield with 3 mining counters on it. Remove a mining counter from Gemstone Mine, add 1 mana of any color. If there are no mining counters on Gemstone Mine, sacrifice it. So I love this card. I love the utility of it. I don't mind, especially this being a burn deck. It's just fine. And I actually like running Gemstone Mine in a couple 2-color decks just because it's not bad. It's not a bad card. I enjoy it in the deck thoroughly. It definitely finds a place in there. And not dealing damage to you is important. So that's another one where you're not getting damaged out. And in our land base, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 mountains. But wait, there's more, because we have a sideboard. And you're going to like it, because the sideboard's kind of weird. And the sideboard pertains to matches I go up against. So we'll go into it. Right now, what is that in the sideboard? It's a plains. Very strange, I know. But we have a plains in the sideboard. True story. And I'm going to show you why. So we're running a new card, which is Reprieve. And I've talked about this card. It's an instant. It's 1 and a white. And this is how Lord of the Rings is breaking formats. This is a blue spell in white. Return target spell to its owner's hand. Draw a card. So this is instant speed. So 1 ring on the stack. Player plays 1 ring on the stack. At instant speed, we can respond to it. Return target spell to its owner's hand, and we draw a card for 1 and a white. And they've wasted 4 mana, and that's just enough for us to win, to get that 1 turnaround. So we're running 2 reprieves, because that casting cost in our burn deck is big. It's like, oh man. But if we switch out for a lot of these white things, like our 1 Path to Exile we're running, we used to run 2, but now we've put some other things in here. As the game's changed, Boros is becoming very relevant in the burn world, in my opinion. At least the games I'm coming up against. So we have this Path to Exile. Everybody knows what that does. Just 1 of those, because we're not too keen on giving anybody land, but where it's needed, we may need to use this on something. This Revoke Existence is very important because it's exiling target artifacts or enchantment. It's not destroying. So it's exiling. So for 1 and a white, we can Revoke Existence. We're running 2 of these. We have our other copy of Rift Bolt here, which does find its way into the deck from time to time. If we're feeling... what would you say? Feeling good about a game, or like, you know what, let's get that other Rift Bolt in there. Because 4 Rift Bolts is not bad in the deck. So we've got 1 of those here. We have this Smash to Smithereens. Destroy target artifact. Smash to Smithereens deals 3 damage to that artifact's controller. So we're just running 1 of these, where there used to be 2 of these in here. And for a time, I was running 3 of these. And that destroy, not exile, that's not as good for us anymore as it used to be in days gone by. We have Wear and Tear, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment. We have just 1 Wear and Tear. We have Void Mirror. This is wonderful in this deck. Whenever a player casts a spell, if no colored mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. Now, I'm running this in here. I had 1 copy of Talisman of the Void. However, I decided to run the Void Mirror because I like this. This is really hating on colorless artifact decks. So this goes in there, obviously, when I'm going up against any like artifact heavy, any colorless like mono green Tron decks. This is gonna just really jam that kind of deck up. And it being an artifact like that, it forces them to do something, like sometimes use a Boseiju, or you'll gain some life if they use some artifact destruction in green. 2 of those. Now here's an interesting one. Now, if I feel like I'm going to get burned out, or if I'm going against a deck that I feel like is going to somehow stick around and be grindy, I love to run Light Up the Stage. And I'm just running 2 Light Up the Stages. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. Now, from time to time, I think about adding 1 more Light Up the Stage in here. I probably will do that. Just because when I add these in there, I like it so much to exile those top 2 cards until your next turn you can play them. So that's giving you gas in the engine, so to speak. So that's really great for us. Lightning Helix, here's a 4th copy. If we're going against another burn deck, we're going to throw this in our deck. That life gain is just essential. And then Roiling Vortex, fourth copy. So it's a very simple deck. And the sideboard changes from time to time. For example, I may probably remove wear and tear from here and maybe add another light up the stage. But when we go white heavy like this, say we are going against some kind of like deck where we want these things, even if we want like a little bit of it, we're gonna maybe take out a land and add this, or we'll add this and leave it and just expand our mana base a little bit. It's a great deck for going around a lot of different builds that you're coming up against. And with the sideboard, keeping it fluid, you know, where I'll play a sideboard for a month and be like, okay, we don't need that. That's like a little bit recursive. Like, honestly, yeah, I really am probably going to put in a third light up the stage because I do find myself putting those two in the deck more and more often to where it's like three of them would be good because then you get that. But I don't know. Something to think about, I guess. But there it is. There's the burn deck. So I was asked in a couple of emails, what's my best deck? Or I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite deck. Definitely not my favorite, but for winning and doing its thing, I would say this deck is up there. I really like it. About as much as I like the color purple. And I do like the color purple. In fact, oddly enough, looking at, yeah, that's funny. I'm actually wearing a purple shirt today. So lo and behold. But there it is. There's burn. And you know what I think we'll do? Just for funsies and bunzos, we're going to do a little session with that here of ball against the wall. Or as some people call it, gold fishing. Let's make a gold fishing video and do some more talking. Maybe we'll talk about the bans a little more, or the lack of bans thereof in our next video. So let's get in that. I'm going to go ahead and shake these up and we'll do some gold fishing and see how quick certain damage can get across. Thanks for joining me. All the best. All the best.